So, first of all, I have to apologize that I did not do my homework. I had a few questions to figure out the answers to. I didn't quite get to them. I thought about it a little bit, but I can't say I have a clarity on the issue. Just to review the questions that we had, and I'll just mention some of the things I thought about, but not necessarily. I was wondering, what is the pshat? According to Rabbi Shlomo Zalman, it says that the plastic rings are not considered a tikkun because they come off very easily, and it's almost a complete cap already, and it's not such a big change as opposed to the metal ones, which are a big change. So I was wondering why that's not a shaila of tikkun of makabeh patish. Because binyan, when it comes to binyan bekelim, a binyan garua is not important. So you could say it's not such a big change. When it comes to makabeh patish, I mean, it doesn't seem like you need a big change. Like even shaking off the dust, not the dust, but I'm saying the leftover stuff that got woven into the material. All you're doing is shaking it. That's makabeh patish, because that's what it takes to finish it and to complete it. So I didn't have a clarity on it, although I did see Yalkut Yosef seems to say that the cover of such a bottle is also maybe like chaysoles shal tamar, like the baskets that would hold those figs and dates, which, according to the explanation given by Rav Moshe and others, it's considered like the peel of the fruit, in which case it doesn't have the getter of a keli at all. So it doesn't have the getter of a keli, there's no makabeh patish because it's not a keli, it's just like a klipa. But I must say that doesn't seem to be Rabbi Shlomo Zalman's shita, because Rabbi Shlomo Zalman, according to that, would say that a metal cap, according to that, metal cap should be the same. Because it's not a keli, it's just you open it, you throw it out. Rabbi Shlomo Zalman is saying that the cap is different than the keli itself, because the cap you reuse. The keli, even if you go like those shitas, you use it. When it's empty, you throw it out. Right? So the one-time use is as long as it's full, you're using it, and then you throw it out. But the cap you take off and put back on. So in terms of that, Rabbi Shlomo Zalman holds that is a more than one-time use. So according to Lashita Sai, it's not so clear to me why we're not concerned with makabeh patish. So that was one thing that needed clarity, and still needs clarity. Another thing is just trying to figure out what was the Lubavitcher Rebbe's hanhaga. So I came across just random mashkacha pratis in my email research. Actually, my email this week was supposed to be about cans.
Hanhaga in terms of not giving total?
No, just in general. I'll share what I meant in a minute. Exactly. Pacham Ktanim was supposed to be a segue into cans, but after 3.5 pages about the actual Pacham Ktanim, I didn't have time to write about cans. So, but nevertheless, in that research, I did come across an article where somebody says that in the Rebbe's house, they opened the bottles with the rings. So I decided to do some independent research and not to rely on hearsay, which all of these articles are totally hearsay. So I called a fellow named Chaim Baruch Halberstam, and he's one of the people that used to hang out in the Rebbe's house and help out and prepare the food and just, simple things, help the Rebbetzin with things that she needed and so on. So anyway, I asked him, and he said that he never, ever saw those kind of bottles in the Rebbe's house, not on Shabbos, not during the week. He said the Rebbe's house was very low-key as far as food was concerned. They just didn't have, they had like stuff that they had, but they didn't really have a lot of big varieties of stuff. He said the seltzers came in these big, like, whatever, like stuff we don't even have anymore. And the Rebbe didn't use grape juice, so it was just wine. It's just wine. Asked him about vodka bottles opening. He said he never saw that. So he said it's not the first time he's been asked, and he thought about it, and he doesn't remember ever seeing that being done. But he did say that he heard from Leibel Groner, the Rebbe's secretary, that the Rebbe wanted the bottles opened for the Farbrengen before Shabbos, because the Rebbe would give out vodka before, on Shabbos Farbrengens. He wanted those bottles open before Shabbos. Despite that, there were some weeks when it wasn't, or maybe people brought extra, or whatever. He didn't stop people from opening it, but he generally wanted them open before Shabbos. And he also pointed out that it wasn't just the vodka bottles, also the wine bottles. Because the wine bottles, on top of the cork, there's like a little paper, maybe there's writing on it, and they wanted everything open, so there wouldn't be any question and how to do it, and whatever. So that's just a general thing. So doesn't really clarify anything, but just thought I'd share that with you.
What's the stock that you can? What is it at the end of the day? Like, do it before. If you didn't, then you really okay.
You mean like a soda can or cans in general? Depends whose psak you want. It depends whose psak you want. If you go by Reb Moshe, the truth is Reb Moshe, like I said last week, said not to actually follow his psak, but in practice he didn't want people to do it because it could lead to the wrong thing. But the theoretical psak of Reb Moshe would say it's allowed. I believe Shlomo Zalman said the same thing. He held to that concept, that something that is going to be. I didn't see it inside. I saw him quoted, so I never rely on quotes, but that's what I saw him quoted as saying, that it's like the peel of the fruit, and therefore there's no makav patish, there's no tikkun, there's nothing. But not everybody holds of that whole vort, like I pointed out from the Alter Rebbe. Doesn't seem to be the pshat of the Chaysalas. The Alter Rebbe seems to be saying something that's simply that is a weak keli, as opposed to the fact that it's a one-time use keli. And based on that, like I pointed out, the Tehillah David is machalek between cans and like paper. So according to him, certainly actual strong metal cans are awesome. I mean, you could argue maybe a can is not so strong and whatever, but that's a little bit of a open question. So I don't know. So it really depends on who you ask. I believe I didn't see soda cans specifically, but in general, the Yalkut Yosef is more lenient. Yeah.
I was also wondering if you said the mentioning about tuna cans and pickle cans and stuff like that doesn't have a, or even if it does have a pot.
Can open.
Right.
Right.
What was the?
So that's machlekes haposkim.
About time you were saying that it was completely not good unless.
It's not.
Maybe
No.
unless you open.
I just want to clarify. The Alter Rebbe doesn't say clearly that it's awesome. The Rebbe, the way he explains the heter of chaysalas is not like Reb Moshe explains it. Reb Moshe says that it's because it's a one-time use, therefore it's like the peel. Alter Rebbe says simply that it's a binyan gerua. So therefore there's no basis for that heter in the Alter Rebbe. He doesn't explicitly say otherwise, but those that follow his shita in general, like the Tehillah David, for example. Tehillah David was a Berditcher of a chassid, and I don't remember his name, but he's pretty big. So he said not to open cans because they're not a binyan gerua, they're strong, but that you could open like a paper packaging because those are weak. So he just goes by the strength of it.
how do those two rationales work together? Like Chosolos and Kligerua, right? Are each one of those a way to say it's usher? Like if
it's mutter. What do you say usher?
Okay, so either one
It's
of those,
mutter.
No,
that depends on how you say the pshat. That depends on how you say the pshat. The way the Alter Rebbe explains Chosolos, it's just an example of a Kligerua. It's not a new chiddush. The way Rav Moshe explains it is that it's two separate chiddushim. There's a Kli Garua, it's not strong keli, and even if it's a multiple use keli, the fact that it's not strong means that it has the concept of ein binyan v'kelim. And then there's Chosolos, which doesn't have a din of a keli at all, not Garua, not anything, because it's like the peel. So that's a much broader heter, because, like we pointed out, binyan Garua, Kli Garua doesn't have binyan, but it still has makav patish. Whereas if it's not a Kli B'chlal, then it's nothing.
What about the Kli itself just being a receptacle for the stuff inside?
Right. Basically, bottle. That's the concept. If it's a one-time use. If it's not a one-time use, it's not bottle, because why should it be bottle? There's something else coming after that. It's not just for that. If it's one-time use, so it's bottled for that, and it's like not, it doesn't have its own mitzias.
And the tuna cans, according to Vanya?
I believe he's Meikol.
And it's a side question on cans and things like that. So if a person has corn or tuna, would he be able to open it up somewhat, leave the cap on, and let the water come out?
One second, one more thing. Yeah. I just want to read the Yalkut Yosef here. Me'ikar adin muter leftech b'Shabbos kufsaot shimurim shemitzrachei mazon shonim u'mikol mokom im efshar lepotchan me'erev Shabbat tov v'nachon la'asot ken. So basically, he's mater me'ikar adin, but he does point out that it's better to be macher. פחית שתייה שיש בראשה כמין טבעת, שעל ידי משיכתה נעשה בפחית כמין פתח לשתייה. Again, בעיקר הדין מותר לפותחה בשבת, שמאחר ואין דרך לשמות הפחית לחשי תוקנה, אינו לתיכת איסור מתקן מענה. ומקום טוב ונכון להחמיר שלא לפותחה לגמרי. שלא לפותחה לגמרי. I guess, open it up a little bit so it shouldn't be a Pesach Noah. I guess that's what it is. So in other words, because he's saying binyan he's not worried about, so it's like it's a binyan gorua, but maybe because of the Pesach it's makav patish, so don't open it up completely, so it shouldn't look like a nice opening.
Yes. Would that work also? Did he give any advice for the can? Also not to open
No, he says that to open before Shabbos.
No, but if you didn't open up for Shabbos, now it's on Shabbos. You open it.
You
want to have tuna for your Suda. With the same what is it?
I guess the thing to do would be just to open it like the Chazon Ish says, in a way that can reuse it.
Can't reuse it? Can't
reuse it.
Once you can't reuse it. How would you be able to reuse it?
I can. I mean, why not?
Leave it open like 50-60%.
Right. If you open it with the jagged edge. No, open it with the jagged edge. That's what the
jagged edge.
If you open a jar and instead of opening it all the way around, you open it halfway and you bend it back, so that you have a jagged edge there. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's a way to be able to close it nicely. If I put the whole cap off, if I take the whole cap off, there would no way to reuse that.
Yeah. No, you can reuse it, not for that, but you have a little can that you can use for keeping things. Yeah.
But even if no one nowadays keeps them.
So that's the shaila. Does it go? That's the shaila. Does it go by what people use, or does it go by the strength of the can? So that's the question. According to Moshe, as long as people throw it out, it has a din of a klipa. But if you say it goes by the strength of the item, people could reuse it. So it's a problem. So according to Chazon Ish, if you do it, the Chazon Ish holds the chiddush we said last week, that a sealed can does not have the din of a keli because it's not usable. And it's when you open it up, instead of calling it stira, he calls it binyan. So if you open it up in a way that makes it impossible to reuse, or at least the way you open it up, at that point you can't reuse it. You can change it later, right? You can change it later to make it. You could cut the whole thing off or whatever it is. But at this moment, it's not possible to reuse without it being dangerous, so it's not practical. So at this moment, you haven't done binyan.
So if we take off the cap, according to that, it's not binyan? Just taking it off again?
According to that, it is.
Why? How would it be not binyan?
To open it in a way that you can't reuse it.
Which would be?
I mean, either to do it like that, so that the cap is a jagged edge. I've seen it said that you open it on both sides. The question was asked last week about, you're going to have to open up one side first, so how does it help? But that idea is brought up. Open up both sides, top and bottom, so therefore it's not going to...
What's the issue with opening up the part of the bottom?
Well, the moment you open on the bottom, right now it says keli.
Yeah, but it's not even usable.
Why not? The bottom and the top are the same thing. You just flip them around. It's the same thing. No
Well,
difference.
let's say it's tuna. So by making a tiny slit in the bottom of the can opener, I'm not getting any tuna out. Maybe some water will dribble out. That's not using the kli.
And then what?
And then open the top. So then you're never going to be able to reuse that can because it has a hole in the bottom.
Saying open it up in a little bit in the bottom, so it's not
Just,
usable.
One turn of the whatever it's called.
Maybe. I hear you. Maybe. Maybe that's what they mean when they talk about both sides. I don't know.
What was the other option? Opening up the whole bottom and then opening up the whole top? I thought it was when I was a kid, when I wasn't even religious, I remember people opening up cans of tuna. They pop, even put a knife in the bottom
Yeah, it could be.
and a poke of a knife and then the top.
Could be. I hear it.
Does it make a difference if it's a self-opening mechanism in the can as opposed to you having to use an external can?
That was also asked last week.
What was the question?
If they make the can in such a way that it has like a ring, so you can
Some of
just
the
pull it
smaller,
off.
compact tuna cans have that own
Right, the ring.
Right.
So what was the difference?
I'm just saying the fact that you're opening it that way as opposed to bringing an external cable.
Right. My only, I'm not going to give you a clear answer to this question because I don't have a clarity. But my only question that might, be able to shed light on that issue is, what if is the can made without that lid and then they put it on? Or is it all made together? That's what I'm saying. If it's made without the lid, and then they put the lid on, and they put it on in such a way that it's very easy to remove, maybe it's mutter because of the concept of the mustaki. When we had, not mustaki, sorry, magufa, we had the discussion about a barrel that is already opened, and they would stick on a magufa, which was a cover, even if that cover was well connected with tit or whatever, cement, whatever. But because it was put on with the intention of taking it off, it was never considered like part of the barrel. It was always considered like a separate thing from the barrel. So that's really what that hinges on. If that's the way they make it, which I don't know how they do, if that's the way they make it, maybe it's mutter even according to the Alter Rebbe. I'm saying because it's not part of the can. It's just a cover that is temporarily put on. But I don't know how they make
That's
it.
likely what it is. It's a pre-made cover. They just stamp it on.
I hear you.
But are there any other issues with assuming they're equal?
Assuming what's equal?
Assuming that it's not considered a separate cover.
Uh-huh.
Is there any preference to doing that as opposed to opening a can, given the choice with an external K-lid?
I don't think so. If it's not made separately, I don't see why it's different just because they make it easier for you to do if you're actually making an opening. I mean, why? Just because they make it easier for you to do it, I don't see why there should be a difference.
And also, I was remembering the soda cans maybe even in the 80s, 70s for sure. They didn't have the mechanism that you opened it and it stayed there.
Right, you pull it out, yeah.
The whole thing would come off. So you'd be separated.
Yeah.
Would that make a difference? And I'm just saying that's because when Moshe Paskin and
Yeah, it's separate.
what?
The pull tab is separate.
But the one they have to cut with the can opener's not?
No. The old soda can,
Uh,
it literally would come off. You'd throw it away. Separate. It's separate from the can completely. It wouldn't stay there. Look at 1970s
That comes in the back.
cans.
Used to get cut on.
Yeah, I know. You do those different things with it.
They cut them with swimming.
Rinse repeat can construction involves several stages: forming a tube, joining the bottom end, filling the can, joining the wall and top end. It seems like the top is put on last. Yeah, they make the rest of the can, then they put in the food and cook it, if it has to be cooked, and then they put on the top. So, maybe.
that's when it has the opening on the top.
No, that's in general. That's in general.
All
It seems
cans?
that's how they do it.
All cans.
But yeah, but when it comes to other cans where they do it so tight that it's basically there's no way of telling any difference. I don't know if that's the same as a Magufa, because there's two separate things. There's Magufa, there's the chavos, they're connected. That connection is not considered permanent. But here, where it actually is soldered, so it becomes one piece, I don't think that that's a heter. But when they connect it in such a way that it's lachatchila, not fully connected, I think that's when it's room for heter, maybe. The advent of pull tabs and beverage cans. The ends are known as easy open lids because they open that. Okay. Now that we don't know, we can continue. A can opener, according to the opinions that say you're not allowed to open cans, is a kli shemalachta le'isser. Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah. According to opinions that say you're allowed to open cans, then it's a kli shemalachta le'heter. So it really depends. But even if you're not allowed to open cans, if you're doing it in a mutadik way, for example, let's say you're not allowed to open cans, but you hold like the Chazon Ish, that a sealed can is not a keli. And if you open both ends or jagged edge or whatever, so you're going from a non-keli to a non-keli. So if you're using a can opener, even though it's kli shemalachta le'isser, you're using it for a permissible purpose. Right? You're allowed to use a kli shemalachta le'isser for a permissible purpose. Like you're allowed to use a hammer to open a coconut or something. L'tzorech gufay. You're allowed to move it l'tzorech gufay. So that's the idea.
Okay, I get what Rav Chazon said, but what did Rav Shlomo say? Chazon is giving a heter since it's going from a non-kli to a non-kli.
Exactly.
But what was Rav Shlomo Zalman Rav Moshe said anyways not to do? Is that what we're reading in the previous class?
Rav Moshe said that in theory, any container that's a one-time use container is nullified to the food, and it's not get rid of
cans. It's fine.
According to that, in theory,
Cans, cans.
Any cans.
Regular cans.
Any cans that you throw out, that most people throw out, is
Meaning that you're not keeping it in your kitchen to reuse.
exactly, and most
Meaning-
people don't.
Meaning, but you would keep your content in
You keep your content in it, but that's just like
until it's finished.
until it's
throw it away.
finished. That's still
So
nullified to the
that's for sure everything. All type of cans.
most all type of cans, unless it's a type that people save.
Okay. Saying,
Yeah, we don't really.
Right.
In America, we don't really.
so those type of cans, according to
The theoretical true of her Moshe,
what she says not to do.
which she says not to do.
Can we show stores also holds like that?
It's been quoted again. I don't like quoting people who quote, but it's been quoted that he agrees with that chiddush also. Yes,
And,
but he doesn't say it about bottle caps because those you reuse. But on the other hand, plastic bottle caps he considers not a big change. Only the metal caps he consider a big change.
so the cans, since they're one use, or that's one turtle
That's what I'm led to believe.
with. So regular Ashkenazi Jew who asks, "Are you allowed to open up a can of tuna on Shabbos?" You can say to him,
I'm not saying it.
I
I
heard
would have to
quoted
see it. I would have to see it in
by
the
the
Shulchan,
rabbi
especially because
"Saw a
Moshe
book that quoted
doesn't actually say it. He just says it in theory. So I wouldn't give a psak right away. I would say it has to be.
And the Chazon Ish would hold that it's okay as long as you make it a non-kli.
Yes.
And any hole that I make on
But
the bottom would be a non-kli.
I'm sorry.
If I puncture a hole with the can opener on the bottom, and then I go to the top and I finish the top nicely, that's considered.
I mean, I hear this far, and definitely people I've seen it quoted that people say to open the top and the bottom. So that would seem to be an idea. But if a Chabad person asked me about opening a can on Shabbos, I would have to say that there is actually no way to do it.
Oh, what is the
Zero way.
Didn't you say that if you open it up from the bottom?
No, not according to the Alter Rebbe.
Oh, because it's a opinion, it's a real kli. It's a kli that-
According to the Alter Rebbe, the way the Tila David understands him, it is a kli, and to open it is to, if you make a nice opening, it's a Pesach Noah, it's a Makav Patish issue. And if you open it in a way that destroys it, it's a stira, it's a destruction. So how are you going to open it? To open it nicely is no good. To open it not nicely is no good.
Wouldn't be able to open some of the top?
Why?
Why is that not nicely?
You're making you're destroying it. Either you make a Pesach Noah.
Destroying.
Yeah,
It's the way you made it. How do you make it kli? It's not a kli.
it is already a kli.
So why can't you just continue using it as the kli?
You're breaking open a kli. It's a sealed kli. You're breaking it open.
It's the toilet of the kli to be able to be opened.
On
It's
Shabbos,
making
you
the
can't.
kli- Oh, you're saying what? What's this? I don't get this.
It's stira. You're breaking
Breaking-
open a kli.
And you're not allowed to break open the kli on Shabbos.
Stira.
Steer. Even
If you
it's for
hold
the benefit of you using that kli. That is the problem. You're saying. Steer.
stira is aser. If you hold that it's a binyan gomer, so stira applies to it, right? Just like you can't break open anything, you can't break anything connected to the ground, definitely, because that's stira. So if you hold that a strong keli has the getter of binyan, it also has the getter of stira, so you cannot break it. So
So you're saying this is like the case of the of a kli that's not held together by pitch. It's just like the
exactly,
complete key.
like a regular
It's the same
barrel.
that case.
Exactly, like a regular barrel. A regular barrel,
Less than 40 saw, of course.
exactly, even less than 40 saw, according to the Mechaber, there is no way to open it on Shabbos. Unless it was already open and sealed on the top, like we said before. But if it was just a sealed barrel, there is no way to open it on Shabbos, according to the Mechaber. So if we don't accept the concept of a one-time use being not a keli, then we're left with it being a keli. And then there's no way to open it. I know it's a big chiddush because a lot of Chabad households do the double opening, the top and on the bottom, I've heard it and I've seen it.
It's just on the bottom, not
Exactly. That's based on the Chazon Ish, and I'm not knocking that heter, but it's not a heter that is based on the Alter Rebbe. So,
Are there any other understandings of the Alter Rebbe besides the two of them? Because he didn't say that, right?
No, he didn't say that right. Did not say that right. He just didn't say the pshat in the chaysalis, right, in those baskets that Rav Moshe says, but he didn't say that right.
Those are four questions the Sefer has.
No, actually, the Sefer doesn't cover Armenian. We can get to that yet. I mean, I'll tell you the truth that there are Chabad Rabbanim that permit it. Like I told you, since that the Rebbe was for bringing, they sometimes opened it and the Rebbe didn't scream at them. It must be permissible. And some of those Rabbanim are Talmidei Chachamim. That's okay. That's okay, thank you. Rabbi Tvardovich from Kfar Chabad is a Chashav Rav. And the book that my daughter came home with, saying that you can open all the things because the Rebbe, etc., he was quoting Rabbi Tvardovich. Rabbi Tvardovich happens to be a Talmud Chacham, so obviously he must have a pshat in the Alter Rebbe that I'm not aware of.
Or a lot of Amunas.
No, he's not the sort to just say that. He probably has a pshat. Probably has a pshat. I'm sure he has a pshat. I just don't know it. And I'm not making up what I'm saying, because Rav Deitch in Tzemach Tzedek Koilel is also very down on opening cans. Does not allow it. I discussed it with him this summer. And I shared with him what I saw in that sefer. And he was equally disturbed by it. And he said I should be in contact with the author because he knows the author. And I promptly emailed the author and never heard back from him. So that's where it stayed. Anyway, so with no further ado, you know what? Since I didn't do my homework yesterday, I'm gonna. He is over here. Yes. Believe neder, I will try to do better homework for tomorrow, but I will do my best to clarify some of these issues for tomorrow. I'm sorry? What do you mean? Tvardovich? Why? He has a lot of Svarim on Shabbos. He has a few Svarim on Shabbos. He has Muktzah and he has Ishel also. He has some. I don't know. Later. Okay. We are going to learn Shin Yud Dalet. Shin Yud Dalet, yes. Back to the Machaber.
We started this
or
Shin Yud Dalet, that's what we're in the middle of.
we finished stuff?
No, we didn't start Chaf yet. We didn't start Chaf yet in the Alter Rebbe now. We're going to do it first in the Machaber, and then in the Alter Rebbe. Okay. Aser. Yud Aleph. Not 9. Not 9. Yoram, can you come for Ma'ariv? Try to do. Text my guy. I was hoping to say the Sent Halamater with the minion tonight. Who didn't daven?
I did not.
3, 4, 5. So basically, if you daven, then he'll help us. Yud Aleph, Yud Aleph.
there another way we can get in touch with George?
Yeah, his son lives in my area.
Is there up somewhere?
The father or the son?
Son.
I mean, he's Talmud Chacham, he's not a Rav, but can ask him if he knows or if he has maybe his father's sefer. Okay. Also, Litain, Shaiva Hashem and Av Benekev V'Chavetz L'Stasmai. Neishu Memareach. It's forbidden to put Shaiva, wax, or Shemen Av, like thick oil, congealed oil, into the nekev, into the hole of a barrel in order to close it up. Because he is going to be smearing it. Now, the way the Mefarshim explain is that even if you say, I'm not going to smear it, I'm just going to stick it in. I have this lump of shaiva, which of course the Mefarshim are going to say that it's not muktzah. Let's say it would be muktzah, or normally, wax would be muktzah on Shabbos. But let's say you have wax that you designated for use before Shabbos. Nevertheless, if you, and you plan to just stick it in, you're not going to smooth the sides, you're just going to stick it in and leave it in. Nevertheless, there's a gzeira that you might smooth it because you don't want the wine to escape, so you want to make sure that all the sides are filled, so we're afraid you might smear the sides of the hole to close it up properly. All these words mean the same thing, which is basically to smear. Yeah.
Mean that the way it's written, that by doing it, it's like they're doing the pull up memareh. This is the last one of the mechaber. Not because maybe you have no chashash memareh. Like just by doing it, it's considered memareh.
I don't think that's a pshat.
No, this is the way the last one.
Alter says Gzeir Shema Yimra Chashai V'Ladavka B'Defnei Kli Safiv Hanekev in Chaf Aleph. And the Mishnah Berurah also says the Kevidu Mishum Chashash Miruach. It's mashma that it's not necessarily Miruach; it's a Chashash Miruach. It means Shehu Korav the Memarech, I think. Okay.
The way it sounds like we consider it memareh already.
I don't think it's a pshat.
We just have a chaf in front of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's a pshat, although I don't see the Mefarshim saying clearly. Okay, so let's continue. Other things that do not have this issue of smearing. According to the Mechaber, as the Ramah puts in here in the parentheses, if you're doing it in a spot where the wine is not actually coming out, doing it above the wine level, it's mutter. If the wine was streaming out and you plugged up the hole with some other thing, even though it's not memarech, you used a piece of wood, a stone, who knows what, it's forbidden because then it's like a clear tikkun. You have a hole that is like basically ruining your barrel. You plug it up, you're fixing the barrel. I mean, you're not really fixing it because it's not really permanent. It's just sticking in there, but it looks like you're fixing it.
So let me ask you. So you can have a hole above you have two holes. One at the bottom and one above the wine level.
Yep.
The one above the wine level you're allowed to do, correct?
Yep.
You do.
According to the Machaber, the later Meforshim disagree.
So let's say, for instance, you did it. You have to flip the bell and then do the other one. It's going to end up being above you.
Yeah, I think so. It's only if it is a clear tikkun. As you're doing it, that you're actually stopping the wine from flowing out.
Basically, you can cheat. Flip it over and put the other one.
Yeah. Yeah, according to this. Yeah. As we're going to see, not everybody agrees. Ve'im haya hayayin yesedach negvas l'sas. Mefilitin b'shum derech harama loymer she'ena mechaven latzniya sham. Now, what about a eitzah? Like you have a piece of garlic. So you say, you know what? I'm just going to stick the garlic into that hole just because I need a good place to store my garlic. What is a better place to store a clove of garlic than in a hole in a wine barrel? Perfect.
For the wine.
Exactly. It'll get some nice flavor. So I'm going to stick it in there, and the wine is stopping to flow. Yeah, big deal. It's not my kavanah. My kavanah is just to put the, to have a place for the garlic. So that's aser. If he's a Talmud Chacham, he's allowed to make a trick in that way. Meaning to say, by saying that he's doing it, first of all, it's food. So it's anyway not something you would normally leave there for a long time. And the whole thing is only with Rabbanan because it's not like a firm connection that it's really closing it up. And you're saying that it's only for storing it and you're not intending to close it, even though in your mind you are intending to close it. Nevertheless, it's mutter for Talmud Chacham. Because the Talmud Chacham will know his boundaries. In other words, he won't come from there to do it in a case that is clearly asr, in a way that's clearly asr. So the Taz brings...
Even with the garlic only above the wine level, or even with the wine coming up?
No, even if the wine is coming out. If it's above that, you don't need the heter, according to the Mechaber. The Taz brings a similar thing, though he points out it's not exactly the same. But it said, of course, we know you're not allowed to go on a boat on Shabbos, right? So let's say there's a ferry. It says that a Talmud Chacham is allowed to go to sleep in the ferry. And he tells the people, I'm just going to have a nap.
Even during Shabbos?
Yeah. It's docked. It's docked. Even though he knows that the ferry guy is going to come and take him across the river. But he does it in a way of harama. He does it in a way that's that it looks as if he's going just to take a nap. He's looking for a little secluded area to take a nap. So that's also mutar of Talmud Chacham. Meaning to say, if he wouldn't be a Talmud Chacham and he would do it in this way, it's not right because he won't know how to do it in a way that it looks like he's sleeping. He won't be careful. He may end up doing it in a way that looks like he's dafkid, getting a ferry ride. So therefore it's not allowed. Talmud Chacham will know how to do it just in a way that appears to be not for the purpose of the ferry. Actually, they discuss it here. Talmud Chacham. Afa ibn Talmud Chacham kol makoim in zeh shoyer amasveder zemet l'chaladam. Yeah. Basically, since the Rambam says that this Rambam is mutar for everybody, we can rely on him at least for a Talmud Chacham of our days.
Is this Moshe Katav, right?
Sof Siman Shin Lamites.
What's Sof Siman?
Say there, give me a second.
Wait, only Talmud Chacham nowadays, or?
No, only a Talmud Chacham nowadays.
So basically, according to our definition, it's another one second because it's someone that can marry the black coin. Talmud Chacham, the one that won't Masechet, it's on the definition.
No.
Oh.
Talmud Chacham. Talmud Chacham nowadays is a person that people look up to as a Talmud Chacham. Because we're not giving tests and we're not deciding and so on. But the people consider a Talmud Chacham as a Talmud Chacham. Yes, Anushim Laman test is about that exact case. About going across the river in a ferry. And the Mishnah Berurah says not to be married. He doesn't allow it for Talmud Chacham. Haino fil Talmud Chacham, who's manenu in la Talmud Chacham. So that's what he's referring to. But for this, we have a Talmud Chacham. Okay.
Can I offer an interpretation?
Yep.
It says, Surlitin. So maybe that is actual memoreach. And then when the Mishnah Berurah says since the whole problem here is maybe he's going to memoreach, asur filim ein machnis Hashem betoch haneged. Ela b'hanacha ba'alma al gabi milamala.
Oh, I see. I hear what you're saying.
I mean,
I still don't think so, because I still don't think that you have to be memoreach when you stick in Shayim.
Maybe that was the. So maybe that's what he's talking about.
Oh, only if you are? Well,
then he says, "V'kevan to whom mishum chashash meruach asur filim ein machnis Hashem betoch haneged ela b'hanacha ba'alma al gabo milamala." Since we're talking about, we're scared that the person is going to spread it out, you're not even allowed to put it on top. The halacha was talking about smearing it.
I don't know. I like it the way I said before. Even though it doesn't understand the words so well. But I think it's...
What was the Rav saying?
That it's close to Mariach. That it's close to Mariach. When the Mechaber says it's Mariach, it means it's gonna lead to Mariach. Doesn't mean it's...
What isn't this?
Sorry?
So you're saying when he's putting the Shabbos Shemen of Benekev Chavis Asatmo, like Lasatmo means to close it up. So if I'm putting it on in the cracks, let's say, putting it in, jamming it in, putting it all over, that's not Memariach?
Just jamming it in is not Mariach. Mariach is actually smoothing the sides.
So after I jammed it in and I
smooth it, exactly.
on my hand?
Exactly. But let me just look up the Gemara, and maybe I'll get some help here one way or the other. It's possible. I'll just look up the Gemara.
Shabbos Kuf Mem Love?
Yeah.
The top Mishnah Berurah says, "Afagav de ein beruach b'shem asur de gazrina atu shava." דווקא שם אף כיוון לשייך פה קצת מרוח, עד להחלופי. והי שאהבה צריך לומר שהחרים לתשמיש ממנו, כן בלב הכי אסור משום את זה. תלך לבקרים, ושהחילו לכך מוטות עתו, וגזרין השם כן בכותל, לא דבר אחר ואף. אם ידבק אינו על מדרבנם, שם יהיה מרח בביתו דימון. It says the afi midabek eno el medarbanan shema yemareach be'et dibak.
Okay, so the Meiri is with me. The Meiri says, clearly, the Mishnah cannot mean that he's for sure Memareach, because the Mishnah says that it once happened that somebody stuck it in. Once happened that somebody stuck it into the barrel in Arav. And Rabbi Yochanan says, I'm afraid he's chayav chatas. He didn't say for sure. So the fact that he didn't say for sure means that it's possible to do it without smoothing. And Rabbi Yochanan was suspected that maybe he did smooth. So umuchach she'ein ze hecher shanos and shavel anekav shugam mimareach. Long Mishnah meres mneishu mimareach akavana sheyesh chashash sheyevod miruach hashayv. Bil hamakedav shavel anekav v'chen kasav meiri. So that's what I think it is. Okay, let us go to the Alter Rebbe. Siv Chaf and Alter Rebbe Kishem Shaser Liftayach Kol Nekev Mishum Gzeres Tikkun Kli. Just like it is forbidden to open a hole in a new hole in a keli because of the aspect of the Tikkun Kli, which is Brother Mal, like we said before. Chaf. Yeah. Kachas listim kol nekev. So too, it's forbidden to close up any nekev. And they shukim a second kli, because it's like he is fixing a kli as well. So opening it is an accomplishment. It's a tikkun, and you have an opening. But closing is also a tikkun if you want it to be closed, and now it's closed. Each one is a tikkun for what you want it to be. Therefore, it's forbidden to close up the hole in a barrel. Afilu bedavar she'ena mismareach, even if it's something that is not, cannot be smeared, ve'ena balidei schita, and it cannot lead to schita. That's another point that we didn't discuss, but the Alter Rebbe is just mentioning it by the way. If you would want to use a cloth, you would have a problem because the cloth would get obviously all full of wine as you're putting it there, right? As you're trying to close it up, and then as you squeeze it in, some of the wine that's in the cloth is going to be pushed out, and it's going to be schita.
You have a bottle of water, any either liquid, plastic one.
Yep.
And something fell on the table and become a hole and start leaking. Go that to hold the hole and close it.
You can hold it. You can hold it yourself with your finger. Why not?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
your finger is not considered any of this. I mean, it's an object that you can't put in there. You couldn't put something in to hold it in place. So, aval im maniach eza oichel chol ki yotze boy b'secha nekev. Sorry, I skipped the line. Kan she'ista mitzror or bekisem shulchan tashmat radiyah. For example, to close it up with a pebble or a piece of wood, like a splinter, that was prepared from before Shabbos, right? So the Alter Rebbe is covering his bases. Don't bring up the muktzah issue. I've got my pebble collection, my pet pebble that I take with me and whatever. So it's not muktzah. Or the same thing with a little toothpick. It's my toothpick. I use it, so it's not muktzah. Nevertheless, you have the issue. Shem b'm shem iser titl. There's no iser titl. Nevertheless, it's also because of the tikkun. Aval maniach iza oichel v'chol kietz b'v'secha nekev v'latzniya v'nimtza nekev nistamot. Now, if you're putting in a food with your intention of putting it there, lahatzniya, and automatically it ends up being closed, it's mutter. So this is something we didn't see so clearly in the Machaber.
Even if you know that the food that you're using is spoiled.
I'm sorry?
That's true. Even if you're using the food, you know that you're not able to use this food after.
Oh, well, that's not a good aroma. That's not a good aroma. The aroma has to be has to be plausible. It has to be possible to be true. If it's impossible, it's not going to work. I'm saying if you're putting something there that's going to get ruined, so it's clearly not for the sake of guarding the food.
Come in contact with the wine. How do you want to?
What, garlic? Yeah. So you'll have wine flavored garlic, a carrot, bit of wine on the carrot. It's not the end of the world. If it's something that's going to get ruined, a piece of bread, a piece of bread is not even going to work. But I'm saying, if it's something that's going to get ruined, then it's not going to help.
So it means that you have to use actually this piece of food that you actually use to like the whole.
Do you have to use it?
If
If you have to use it, it has to be possible to use. I don't know if you have to actually use it.
You're not going to use it because you know that you don't like garlic wine.
It's not garlic wine. It's winey garlic.
Flavor of wine,
It's
yeah.
winey garlic.
Or any other things.
Maybe they weren't so picky in those days. Maybe they weren't so makpid. I don't know. So, a Talmud Chacham is allowed to make a trick about this thing. She used to that he will close up the hole with any kind of food, or any similar thing. They'll tell anybody who's watching. His only intention is to keep it there. Okay, here's the logic. By the way, the Taz argues on this whole concept. Because Taz says, he brings an interesting argument. I'll tell it to you before we read what the Alter Rebbe holds, based on the Magen Avraham and the simple reading the Mechaber. But the Taz says, Harama only helps if the etzem, there is no isser involved, and it could be interpreted that you're doing it as an isser, or it could lead to do an isser, and you're not doing it in a way of an isser, and you're a Talmud Chacham, and you'll make sure that you don't do it with the isser. So a regular person can't do harama because it's harama, and it could be a lead to doing it with an isser. Talmud Chacham will be careful, but if it's an etzem isser, what does harama help? In other words, what he says is that he says the issue with putting in a hard object is that you might add shaiva. If you put in a carrot, you might say, well, it's not closing it up so well. I'm going to take some shaiva I have and I'm going to close in the sides. So then, in other words, the carrot itself is no problem. What's the problem? That it might lead to shaiva. So the Talmud Chacham will know that he can't do shaiva, but he can't do it stam because people are going to see that he's doing the carrot. They'll come to do the carrot. So he says, no, I'm just putting the carrot here to guard it. You know what I'm saying? So whoever's watching, his family, guests, whatever. So then the Taz says it makes sense because as far as he himself is concerned, he's not going to come to do the next Isser, which is the Shaiva. Why does he have to do it in a way of harama? Just so nobody else should make the mistake. However, here, the way the simple reading of the Mechaber is, says the Taz, if the Isser is the etzem closing up of the hole, so what does it help that he's saying, I'm not doing it to close up the hole, I'm doing it to keep the carrot somewhere? But it's not true. He is doing it to close up the hole. He's saying I'm doing it to keep the carrot somewhere, but he is doing it to close it up, and closing it up is usher. So what does Arama help?
Only when it's a chashash, you're going to do something else.
Exactly. Not if it's an etzem isser. So this is a question. So here's out there we have that's how he learns pshat in this halach.
It's not the liquid. It's like after you get cold, it gets hard.
No, you could have shaiva. That's not so hard.
What is shaiva? Putting in the wax?
Shaiva is like beeswax.
Uh-huh.
So the way that Taz understands this problem.
Sure, we're thinking about like wax from regular cane. That gets as hard as a rock.
Yeah. Normally shaiva is beeswax. I don't think so. I think shaiva is beeswax, which you could use to make a candle out of, but it is actually beeswax. that right? Who speaks Hebrew here? Anybody? Shava, what's a Shava?
שעבר.
Yeah.
של הנר, נו, שעבר של הנר. וואקס.
Beeswax or ragil?
שעבר זה רק הרקע. יש גם שעבר שלא שמים
Regular
באוזניים.
percent, maybe they call it also.
There's some you
Make
can
it
put
liquid,
on your
they
ear.
won't have.
שעושים לו ברכה.
Ah,
זה גם-
Wax.
רביי,
So this wax. Yes.
תאווה זה הנשים משתמשות להוציא את השיער.
Yes, I hear you. A depilatory is what you mean to say.
Sorry, yes.
Yes. Women use it to take the hair off. Yes, indeed.
take the hair off.
Yeah, women waxing.
Wax.
Okay, so it's beeswax.
Every time it says Shaban, Shulchan Aruch.
No, I'm saying here,
Here.
we're looking for something.
But not every time it says it means that. It's talking about wax from a candle. What's the wax of a candle called?
What?
Again, that was Donald or whatever you call it.
So, yeah. Tallow or something, right?
Donag, yeah, that's how he calls it.
Yeah.
Candles that people light for Hanukkah and Shabbos. That's made from animal fats.
No, not now. But it's made from paraffin.
Paraffin?
Paraffin is a petroleum byproduct.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking about the colonial, the Benjamin Franklin or one of those, right? They used the tallow to make candles.
Right.
And let's discuss an halacha. Let's discuss an halacha.
Wait, it makes the wine inflation.
No, it's discussed in Bedikas Chametz about using a tallow candle. You're not going to be able to check the kitchen properly because you're going to be worried it's going to fall on your kalim and make them treif. Or even if it's kosher, it may fall on your milcha kalim and make them treif. So
That's a real concern.
Okay.
I would,
regular shav is okay. It's not edible. Okay, so it's some kind of wax. I don't know, some kind that's soft enough to smoothen. The point is that, so the Taz, I was saying, Daniel, sorry. The Taz says that the wax is that the main issue is that the person may add wax around the hard object. And that's how he explains the reason why Talmud Chacham is allowed to do it, because he says the hard object itself is not an Isser per se. It's only because it may lead to the wax. Talmud Chacham will make sure that it doesn't lead to the wax because he knows what he's doing. And the only reason he has to tell people that he's just doing it to store the food is so that they shouldn't learn from him and do it in a way that will lead to smearing the wax. That's how he explains it. Now we have to explain it. His question is a good question, because his question is, what's the heter? If closing the hole up is already an isser, how does it help to say that I'm not doing it for that reason if you know that that is your reason? So here's how the Alter Rebbe explains it. Hoyel, the reason it's allowed, even if you would not do any haram, even if you would say clearly, I am now closing up the hole, that it's only asam rabbanan. And because he's Talmud Chacham, he will come to not do it without haram. So basically, the issue, the reason for the heter is that it's kind of like a shinui. He's doing an Issa D'Rabbanan because he's closing up the hole in a non-permanent way. So it's not a real tikkun. But he's doing it in a harama way. He's doing it in a way that it looks like he's not doing it for that reason. So it's kind of like a shinui. It's like an Issa D'Rabbanan with a shinui. Now for a non-Talmud Chacham, we wouldn't allow it because he'll just end up doing it in the regular way. Talmud Chacham will know to not do it in the regular way. So it's a chiddush because we don't usually allow Isser Rabban with the Shin, we stop. But we do have some, in some cases we allow it. So this is one of those cases. They didn't allow it on Amoritz to do harama because they were afraid he might come to do without haram. That he will not say he's doing it for the sake of leaving it there, rather in order to close up the hole. Some do allow it even for Amoritz. That's the Rambam. And here is the punchline that we said before for the Bar Hatim. We can rely on their words to be making with Tam Chacham that was Apisman Azeh. And he can be Myron Batas even nowadays. We do not have a Tam Chacham. Then you charge from as far as other matters are concerned.
Meaning the chef.
Sorry, what?
Like the chef.
Like the ship, exactly.
What was their version of
Talmud
Talmud Chacham?
Chacham, I just remember one line about a Talmud Chacham Sharoi Leman Hoisei Parnas Ala Tzibur. A Talmud Chacham who is fit to be appointed as a leader in the community is a person that Shoylem Oisei Dvar Halacha B'chol Mokayim V'Oimra. Shoylem Oisei Dvar Halacha B'chol Mokayim V'Oimra. Sho'alim Oto Dvar Halacha B'chol Makom V'Omra. You can ask him any halacha in the world, and he says it. That's it. Just an encyclopedia, that's all. No problem. There's a handful of those still around today, Baruch Hashem, and that's what it is. In Bnei Brak, I used to go to get shimush from Moshe Shaul Klein. I mentioned his name in Holos Nida a few times.
You were in school?
No, I was in Samach Tzedakah in Yerushalayim, but I used to go there a few times a month just to. He had like a Beis Hara. People would come and ask Shilas at night, all kinds of Shilas. So I would sit in and just learn from absorbing a little bit. So he was like, to be in his Beis Hara, you had to basically know Orach Chaim and Yerodea because you just had to answer Shilas all the time. But the hard Shilas they would say for him. He would come in for half an hour. The place was open from 7 to 10 or to 12 actually every night, and he would come in just to clean up and answer all the questions people didn't know, and he would just on the spot all the hard questions that the big people couldn't answer. He just knew it like that. Rav Moshe Shaul Klein in Bnei Brak. I just remember one shaila in particular was a pupik. How do you say it in English?
Belly button.
No. I think it's called the crop. Crop of a bird.
The what?
The crop of a bird. The gizzard, exactly.
Crop of a what?
The crop of a bird, where it's like the first stomach of a bird. Kurkavan, exactly. So somebody brought it in with the shaila, with the whole, and like all the other rabbanim were like, we learned this once, but they couldn't give a psak. As soon as he looked at it, he just gave a psak like it was fresh. I don't know when's the last time he learned those. I guess he hadn't reviewed it or not. Whatever it was, he didn't have to look it up or anything. Anyway.
Why isn't that the category now?
Why is what that?
Why is that not the category now?
No, nowadays we don't have that. We don't have somebody who's on the level of a Talmud Chacham in those days. Even if it seems like he is.
But we simply don't have those two.
No, that's what it says. Like Lagabe the sleeping, what it says later about sleeping on the ferry. We don't have Talmud Chacham anymore. That's what it says here because someone. No, I don't know. Maybe it's just that we don't have anybody to judge. No, maybe we have them, but we don't have anybody to judge them. Who's going to test them? I don't know.
You should marry your daughter to a Talmud Chacham, and it says who is a Talmud Chacham, and like on that list, Gadol Hador is like a few steps below a Talmud Chacham.
Mm-hmm. I have a vague recollection, but I don't remember the Lashon. I'm sorry. What can you do? Got a ways to go. Yeah. Okay. It's also in Hilchos Kriyas HaTorah, by the way. It gives a list of who you're supposed to give the third aliyah to, and the fourth aliyah, and the fifth aliyah. It goes through these different levels of Talmidei Chachamim. Okay, so we continue and we say, this is all if you're closing it up with the thing that's not the normal way to close it. You're allowed to close it with a piece of wood that is usually used to close it. For example, to close it with a barza, which in English they translate as a bung, which was it was like the faucet of those days. They had this special thing that they used to use to close holes in barrels, and they used to take it out to let the wine out and put it back in. So because it was made for that function, it was never considered like you were making a closed barrel. It was considered like you were doing a temporary closure. To close up with this barza, the hole that was made to take out wine, even if it's not made to open and close all the time, only from time to time. Why is it mutter? It doesn't look like you're fixing the kli, because this is the normal way to close it up. So everybody knows that you're not doing something permanent. That's just the way that they would do the temporary closures. But if it's not fixed to be a barza, you're not allowed to close it up if you lost the barza. Unless it is through harama by Talmud Chacham, as we explained. So it's not like some of the Mefarshim misunderstood. I mean, they asked, they didn't misunderstand, but they didn't. The Magen Avraham says you could use an eitz, you could use a wood. So the Mefarshim asked the Magen Avraham, what's wood? I mean, why is wood different than anything else? But the way it's explained, and the way the Alter Rebbe explained, the way the other Mefarshim of the Magen Avraham explained, the Magen Avraham is not talking about wood, stam. He's talking about the special wood that is made for closing it, which is the barza, that is allowed. Allowed. Because that's not considered a steamer, that's considered the temporary steam. Everybody knows it's temporary.
It's like a cork.
Kind of, yeah. Yeah. Okay, moving right along. Hamamareach Ratia. A person who smoothens a Ratia is a medicated bandage. So they used to have like a cloth bandage with like a medicine inside, which they would smear to put it onto the wound. That is that you make smooth and equal the ridges in it, the holes in it. The same thing, a person who smoothens wax or tar, or anything else that can be smooth, until you make a smooth face. This is a tulda of memachik esar. What's memachik esar? One of the avos is to remove the hair from leather, right? So that you're left with a smooth piece of leather. So whenever you smooth a rough surface, that is a tulda of memachik. Memachik is the av, memareach is the tulda. They used to do this in the Mishkan, like we said. Therefore, it's forbidden to close up a hole with shaiva or any similar thing. Is what you're saying before from the Mishnah Berurah. Even if you don't put it in the hole, you just put it on top of the hole. In which case, you don't have the problem that we had in the last case. The last case was that it looks like you're fixing, you're not fixing, because you're sticking it on the outside. It's not even going into the hole. It doesn't look like it's actually becoming part of the barrel. So you don't have that problem. Nevertheless, it's not actually going into the thickness of the wall where the hole is. It's only on the outside of the kli. So you don't have that problem. There is no problem of muktzah. For example, he prepared it for use from before Shabbos. So there are no side issues here with this shayva. There's no fixing the barrel because you're not actually putting it into the hole. You just want to stick it on the top. There's no issue with muktzah because you have this prepared shayva from before.
Actually, with the keys, with the diaper, you have to put the cream before Shabbos, then just like a rush. Put the diaper before Shabbos.
That's the machmirim. That's the tava elei and bracha way.
No, this is where it fits. But you can't put the directly on him and
You can't smooth it, but what they say is you can just squirt it onto his bottom, and then you close up the diaper, and it just as he moves.
So you prepare the diaper before.
Okay,
What about dabbing it? Dab it.
I don't think so. Once you dab, that's close to smoothing. I didn't bring the third malachas with me, so I can't answer better than that. But believe neder, tomorrow night I'll look that up. We continue. Nevertheless, you're not allowed to close it up with the shayva because of the decree that you might smoothen it. To smear it on the walls of the kli around the hole. Until he makes it smoother. Even with shuman, animal fat, or shemen av, thick oil, like congealed oil. Also, it's forbidden because of a gzeira of shayv. So it seems like there is no actual memareach with shuman or shemen av. But if you would do it with that, you might do it with shayva, and there is actual memareach. We're going to see later, by the way, I think we're going to get to it. I think it's in Shinchaf Aleph that many places can hold there is no memareach by oichlim, which is why you're allowed to make a peanut butter sandwich. Nice, smooth peanut butter, jelly, margarine, tuna salad, whatever it is.
Because of the consistency.
No, because it's food. It's food. And because it's food, it's not a significant act to make it smooth. Because it's smooth, it's not smooth.
It's not lasting. You're eating it.
Right, but even if it's not something that's lasting, but it's not food, you still wouldn't be allowed to do it. But because it's essentially not an important component of food, the fact that it's smooth is not important for food. You know what I mean? When it comes to this, it's important because you don't want to let the wine out. When it comes to leather, it should be smooth. You know, you want your leather to be smooth. So those are important aspects of it. The smoothness of a peanut butter sandwich is not important. I mean, maybe it's important for the balabasta that it should look, just so, but really it's not important.
Food isn't that good.
Yeah.
I think you can take avocado and smooth it.
You can or you can't.
You cannot.
That's machlokes. Those that hold you can't hold that it's not because of memareach. They hold it it's because of tchina. Tchina is the issue there. It's a machlokes.
Any raw vegetable, basically, not to be faithful.
Sorry?
Any raw vegetable, you're not supposed to.
Yeah, tchina is an issue for vegetables. We're going to get to it.
Let's say if you have the potato from the chola and it's already cooked, you can smash it. But it's already cooked.
We're going to get to it. But when you smash it in a way that doesn't become separate pieces, that's when some are makel and some are machmer. That's why avocado, some are makel, because they say it never really becomes pieces. It just becomes a mush. And some say that it's still tchina. I think it's the machlokes the Chazon Ish and Rav Moshe, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that.
Specific or different?
Anything that you don't cut into small pieces, but it becomes a mush. It goes straight from being a solid thing to being a mush. That's a machlokes, if I'm not mistaken, those two. Trying to get a minion? We have exactly 9.
We need someone that didn't.
I have to live on time.
Would you like me to put on the bus? That's not much fun.
So don't have any right now.
What?
I have to live on time.
10:15? Well, forget it. If you have to leave at 10, there's no option.
I remember those days.
Well, if he has to leave at 10, there's no point in me asking. right?
No, not really.
This is when you're on kids.
Chanan davened already, so I guess it's not happening.
If someone's here at 10, you can't stay till Friday. If I say someone has to be here by 10, you'd be able to stay, or you have to? As long as I'm going to shoot any penalty.
I don't know. That's what they have. I don't want to rush them to do it quick, so because I have to go. It's only going to be.
So we need 2 fans. Look into.
I mean, if you don't have it, 4 or 5.
We'll find it.
So one that did, one that didn't. No, yeah, one that did, one that didn't.
V'asu laharim bekan. It's forbidden to make harama. The Logmar say shenim skan alatznioi, and say that his intent is only to keep the shaiva. He needs somewhere to put his wax. Afilu talmud chacham, even his talmud chacham. Shekivin sheb'shava karvador mo'oid lova l'dei chiyuv chadas. When it comes to shaiva, it's very close to a chiyuv chadas. Sheyishkach v'yimareach kedarka b'chol. We're afraid that he might forget and smooth it like he usually does during the week. So that it should be well closed. Which is why they also forbade with other things. So basically, when it comes to fixing it, to closing it with a hard object, there's really no way you could come to do an Issa D'Oraisa there. I mean, unless you really do it a professional. But I mean, from doing it with a stone, you're not going to come to a professional fix. So therefore, for Talmud Chacham, it's mutter. When it comes to a shaiva, it's very easy to do it in a way of a chiyuv chatas. So therefore, we don't allow it for Talmud Chacham. Yes.
Shana is just a good one for something not edible or.
Yeah. No, actually, over here, it's not just about not edible. When we say that there's no marich pa'ochlan, we mean when you're eating it and you're using it as food. Here, even if you would find something that's edible, but you're using it to close up the barrel, that's also, you know what I'm saying? Because now it is important. Ein mericha ba'ochlan means that the fact that your tuna fish is smooth is not important to you.
No, we're going to describe the emphasize about it. Mitmareach or the one that is not edible?
Mitmareach. It's not about edible. If you could have edible shaiva, you still wouldn't be allowed to put it here, because here you're not using it as food. Here you're using it as a closure of a barrel. So there is mericha. There's only no mericha if you're using it as food. You see what I'm saying? That's what the issue is. I think we had a similar thing.
And you're using it, and then after Shabbos, you actually have in mind to take it out and use it.
No, but now you're not doing it as part of your food. When you're making a tuna fish salad, the mericha is just part of your food presentation. Food presentation is not important, but if you're using it to close up a barrel, that's a separate issue. Before we call it a night, I do want to read the last Sif from the Mechaber, which is something that the Alter Rebbe already covered, but we never actually learned it in the Mechaber. It's a little bit of a different order. Yeah.
You put the shaiva on the barrel, or you put the barrel on the shaiva.
I mean, what, it's the Shino you're saying? I don't know how you're going to put the barrel on the Shaiva, honestly, just so that it goes into the hole. I mean, it is.
Let it stay over there. It's just laying on the wax over there, and you let it stay.
Roll it.
I mean, it's basically an Issa D'Rabbanan with the Shino, is what you're saying. You're doing it with the Shino. Putting the Shaiva in is awesome. But you're saying that I'm doing it with the Shino instead
I'm
of.
putting it.
You are putting it. You're just putting.
Turning the barrel.
Okay, you're putting it by turning the barrel, you know. You are putting it. You're putting it with the Shino. But Pashtas and Issa D'Rabbanan with the Shino is awesome. The Pashtas. There are some exceptions, but Pashtas is awesome. Unless it says clearly that it's mutter, I believe it's awesome. Okay, I just want to say Yud Beis in the Mechaber. Sakin Shu Tochav B'Koisel Shal Eitz Me'Ba'od Yoim, a knife which is stuck in a wooden wall from before Shabbos. Also, it's Shabbos, not take it out on Shabbos. Came in Chudavar Mechor because the wall is something connected to the ground. When he takes it out, you're going to widen that hole, for sure, Psikresha, and that's us. The Alter Rebbe learned it. The Alter Rebbe said it. We never learned it in the Mechaber. And or if it's stuck into a bench or anything else disconnected, you're allowed to take it out. If you already put it in and out once before Shabbos, and even in a wall it's mutter, because it's not a psik resha any longer, that it's going to make it more open. Okay, just to review the homework that I have to do, really neder, we have to try to figure out about the matirim of cans. If there's a heter for Chabad, if there is a heter for the pull tops, and anything else?
A bottle of wine.
Oh, the Chazon Ish. I'd like to figure out the Chazon Ish about the two openings. I'm sorry?
Bottle of wine.
It's very faint. I can barely hear you. One more time.
Wine. A bottle of wine.
What about it?
The material as well for Kiddush?
You're allowed to open a bottle of wine? Why not?
Yes.
Letters?
Okay.
Mitzad what? What's the question? Mitzad what?
The wine, what's the name of it? Rashi.
The Rashi one has no problem. It just has a piece of plastic on the top. That plastic is not a keli.
Okay.
Tearing the letters.
The letters you should try not to tear. Rav Ovadia says for food you're allowed to tear letters off, but Ashkenazim should not. But other than that, there's no issue with the Rashi one. All right. Have a good evening.
What do we do next time?
Next time, after I share hopefully any wisdom I have about cans, we will move on to Shin Tes Vav, which is about oil b'Shabbos. Tents on Shabbos. Umbrellas, that too, yes.
When can we do like a review?
A review. That's a good idea.
What's the Hanukkah schedule?
Can we do like a big review?
I usually take one day off on Hanukkah. This year there's going to be 3 Hanukkah days because it starts on a Tuesday night and ends on a Tuesday night. So definitely I have to take off the Monday night because I usually go up to Hallandale to the picnic.
We can have it.
So
that wouldn't
Monday night, it's Monday night. So I want to take my kids there. The first night I'm fine for a shear. The last night I have to let you know about it.
We'll talk about your test or whatever.
No, I think I'd like to do it after oil. Because oil is connected to binyan. It's part of binyan. So let's wait till after that. All the best.
Honestly,
I hope so.
I'm just put,
Yeah, I'm going to stay for my evening.
So wait,
You going to bring it before?
yeah, now you're
Whatever's better for you.
No, wait.